Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League, the Champions League and the Europa League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here are today's topics. Man United stealing all 3 points at West Ham thanks to the heroics of Lingard and De Gea. Chelsea continuing their dominant start with a comfortable win at Tottenham. Manchester City's lacklustre performance in their scoreless draw with Southampton. Liverpool clicking on all cylinders against Crystal Palace, and some love for the surprise team of the season so far, Brighton in 4th place. That's what we've got coming up in today's episode. Wow, Robbie Earle, I'll tell you what, mate. I mean, it's almost every podcast we come on. I don't know whether it's us. Maybe we get too excited. Maybe we kind of.
Maybe we're getting old. Maybe we're getting old, and
maybe
things
we're getting
excite
old.
us that they didn't excite us before.
But
I'm
wow.
sure you're right. The games, the fans back, Rob, is helping because that brings it to another level. And the drama in the Premier League right now could not be any higher. No, could not be any higher.
It's so great in terms of. We'll get to them, of course, the big stories, the big games. But it's just so great to see now full stadiums, everything's kicking off. And Man United today, Rob, at the London Stadium, West Ham 1, Manchester United 2. Drama everywhere. VAR calls, no calls, and don't even check VAR calls. Penalty saves. Amazing game, Rob. I spoke about it a lot today on air, so I'll let you go first and start wherever you want to start on a pretty amazing game of football.
Pretty amazing game of football. Pretty important game of football, I felt, for Manchester United. However it happened, despite all the drama, whether there was penalties or not, whether it should have been or not, whether things went right, Ollie got him over the line. He got a helping hand from David Moyes to push, maybe as an ex-Manchester United manager. He gave him a helping hand, but he got him over the line. They got 3 points in a game that was difficult. I think, Rob, as well, I've looked through, as I was just getting ready to get on the podcast, I was thinking about the teams who played Champions League. None of them were great after playing Champions League midweek. And I know a couple of managers have talked about that. Pep, certainly at Man City, said, going Champions League and Premier League and getting everything ready is not an excuse. They have deep squads. They've got plenty of players, but rhythm sometimes. I don't think any of the 4 Champions League teams played on top of the game, but, some have found a way to get a win, Man United being one of them. What a week it's been for Jesse Lingard, Rob.
Yeah.
Who comes on in the Champions League and makes an error. They lose it, and you're thinking, all that he's gone through, Jesse, with some mental health issues and his form and things, and he wants to stay at Man United. And then he has the moment today where he gets the goal. Beautiful, brilliant goal. Well done him. Well done, Ollie, for keeping him.
Yes.
You start to think, Rob, there might be a place for Jesse Lingard in this group if they're going to go as far as they want to go. Why would I let a player of that quality who can influence a game, can change a game, why would I let him go? So I thought overall it was a really good day for Ollie. Drama-packed. Some things he deserves credit. Some things happened maybe out of a bit of luck and fortune. But a really big, important day for Ollie to get the 3 points to get the win.
I want to follow on there, Rob, because I totally agree with you. And the first credit I want to give him is that I heard an interview with David Moyes, again, prepping for this weekend. And he was asked about Jesse Lingard. And Moyes said, inquired about Jesse in the summer, spoke to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Solskjaer said, we want to keep him. We want him to be here. So it wasn't that Jesse Lingard, and I don't know how much Lingard pushed for it. Yeah. Probably not a lot. If your manager at that great football club says to you, you know what, I want you around the club. I want you here. Good decision. And talk about another good
just
decision.
Just on that, Rob, just before you go. I mean, that's a decision we were saying, he's done at Man United. In fairness, I actually was, well, his time, he ain't going to play a lot. He's going to be sat on the bench. He's got to go. Jesse's got to want to leave. Ollie's better off letting him go. And that's where you say, that's a good decision. That's a manager who has kept the door open and look what's happened.
Yeah. And another decision today, Rob, in the game, brave substitutes. 1-1, expecting to beat West Ham United away from home on the back of a disappointing game in Champions League against Young Boys. He brings on Jesse Lingard, and and Jadon Sancho for Paul Pogba and Mason Greenwood.
Yeah.
I thought at the time, wow, like two incredible assisting player, Greenwood who could score a goal, to bring on Jadon Sancho has not done much, to be fair, and Jesse Lingard. And the game was kind of fizzling out a little bit. And I thought, oh, that's a big call. And Jesse Lingard does what he does. So, again, I will jump on and give an opinion or critique about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and what I'm feeling. I absolutely will give him credit as well when I feel he did something well. And that was a ballsy, big, brave decision today, I thought, with the subs at 1-1 in a critical game. I think it was 75 minutes, Rob, where I'm looking at the clock. I said to Tim Howard in the studio, this is an important 15 minutes. This could be, I'm writing my notes down in the game's going on. I'm writing down, kind of just like Southampton. Concede a goal, get back into it. But the fans and stuff now, as opposed to last year, just help the team to maintain that. And then Lingard does that and changes the headlines. So Lingard, good shout to bring him up first. And he came on and did what he did. Can I just rewind and throw you into Cristiano Ronaldo? And how he looked, and let's get into his, I think, 3 penalty decisions. We certainly got a close look at 2 of them. What do you think of his performance, Rob, and some of those decisions?
I thought, to be fair, that Zuma Ogbonna didn't do a bad job. He wasn't quite getting away. I thought
Zuma did well.
Zuma looked in good shape. The goal, Rob. The goal he scores is a testament to a man's fit mind and fit body. Fit mind and fit body. As the ball come in, his movement is already ahead of anybody else in the box. And his body gets him into the place where the rebound comes, where he reacts quicker, and everybody else is static. That is top class centre forward play. That's know-how. That's nous. That's physicality, that's understanding, all the little things you want Greenwood to have and the great centre forwards have. He's got it, mate. And that stood out to me in the goal. And people say, "Oh, it's an easy goal." There's nothing easy about it.
No, now I know it's only early. I expected a sharp Ronaldo. To be fair, we knew his game was going to be a little bit different. We knew it was going to be a number 9, a little bit different. I'm not sure, as I sit here now, and I expected how instantly better Manchester United are with him up front. Again, of course, he's a world-class player. You think at his age, mate, is he going to be that effective every single week? Again, it's only, 4 or 5 games in now. But his understanding with Bruno, who, are like, when they separate and they look for each other, particularly Bruno deeper, and they're clipping those balls in behind, it's fun to watch, mate. Honestly, every single time the ball goes in around the box, I'm like, Ronaldo is there. He's absolutely there. Penalty decisions, Rob. So the first one, when he fakes Vladimir Soufal, he drags it past his right foot. Soufal kind of puts the leg out. I thought he put it into the ground and not necessarily trip the player. And Ronaldo's foot went into him a little bit, and he goes down. VAR looked at it and like, no, it's the no call. I'm not sure what's called a call or not called, but
not call.
I agree with that. Did you give me a take on that one?
Yeah, I agreed. I didn't think there was enough. I think there's sometimes the natural movements of the game are going to make connections, but it didn't feel to me like that was a penalty, Rob. I've got to be honest. I'm okay with that one. No call was the right call. Yeah, and then somehow, mate, and you tell me if I'm seeing a different game or I've got this one wrong. Later in the game, Kurt Zouma comes across and slides over, and the ball gets knocked past him. He's nowhere near the ball. And, he kind of goes through the player. And Ronaldo, I don't think Ronaldo, he started laughing, couldn't believe it. Did I admit, not even a VAR check? Yeah, I know. Well, the game kind of went, and I'm thinking, well, there's got to be a VAR check, hasn't there? I assume. I mean, it's basically, as Zuma comes in, it was very like the Ramsdale incident that happened, and we'll talk about Arsenal a little bit later. Well, Ramsdale gets the ball and then makes a contact with Vidra and goes down. No penalty, absolutely the right decision. Kurt Zouma does the same type of challenge, but doesn't get any of the ball. Ronaldo knocks the ball past him and then gets clattered on quite high up on his leg. And how that's not a penalty kick, I really do not know. And Ollie was interesting and just said, I hope we aren't going down this road where he ain't going to get penalties that he should do just because of who he is and that he's coming back in the league. Because that's not right, and that's not fair on Manchester United. It's not fair on the league, by the way.
Yeah.
Do your job properly, and at least the issue with the VAR one with the Ronaldo one was that we didn't go to VAR and we didn't get an opinion. It was almost like they just brushed over it.
Well, the VAR, I would check that, and the VAR guy. Let me see. I quickly have got it here. It was Darren England. When he looked at the game, he must have said to Martin Atkinson,
"It's okay.
Nothing to report here. No, which is astonishing to me. That one I thought was crazy. Yeah. Of course, there's so many incidents. Then we continue on, of course, and the Luke Shaw block, handball, arm out. I think
unfortunate for Luke, but it's a penalty. It's a penalty. If your hand's that far away, it's not in an unexpected position. It is making you bigger. It hits his hand there. He doesn't mean to do it, but in the current law, in any law now, that's going to be a penalty, Rob.
It is 100%. It's a penalty. I'm just struggling to think how you run at full pace and you stretch your left and you've got to somehow stretch.
You've either got to put the hands behind the back thing that looks terrible. I don't like defenders to do, or you're going to run the risk of what Luke Shaw does. Unfortunately, that's where we are. Yeah. But anyway, there was more drama to come, mate. I mean, the handball isn't even being talked about now, which would have been in different circumstances. I mean, that moment of that happening, one totally surprised me because I would have never have thought David Moyes is that kind of guy. I mean, that's a bit going to Vegas and chucking all your money on.
You've got carried away. You've had a few drinks. Yeah. You've got a few quid in your pocket, and you're like,
here we go. I mean, so supposedly, and again, you might have had pictures of this. Mark Noble was sitting down, hadn't even stretched or was doing a warm, so no intention of coming on because it probably the way the game was going. He goes, Rob, from probably having to take some stuff off, having sat down at least for the last 30 minutes watching a game, not stretched his 34, 35-year-old hamstrings or even wiggled his toes, to running onto the pitch, taking the ball off Declan Rice, who kissed it and put it on the spot, and then he's got to go and grab West Ham a point against one of the biggest teams in world football, against one of the best goalkeepers in world football who's come back to form. Now, I straight away you get into it. I read a few stats. So the stats say it's 4 years ago since he last missed a penalty, 2016. It's 5 years ago since De Gea last saved a penalty. I think he's taken 42 penalties. He's missed only 4. So maybe David Moyes has put all his money on black-red because he thinks that's the way to go.
And as you know, mate, I did try and check the pictures. And we went to our technical camera feed to sort of to see this play out because we heard the same thing. And Tim noticed something behind in a shot we had of the managers, and we saw David Moyes kind of like, it looked like, again, I admit I'm speculating a little bit, that he looked at the bench and somebody else was going to come on, Rob, and he gave it one of them with a hand gesture, and I'm doing here for our listeners, like, calm down, no, let's not do that. Then he goes out a shot. That's when he must look at Mark Noble. Cool. But sadly, the tactical camera feed was it was closer shot. So you couldn't see the benches. But that's what we understand, that Noble just came out of the blue, and it's got to be difficult to come onto field like that. And so we didn't get the definitive pictures to get absolute evidence of that's what happened. But enough people have said that Mark Noble, totally cold, just runs on. I didn't even run very well, Rob. He probably not do any runs. He was limping. He comes on and has to take it. And fair play to David De Gea. It saves the blushes. It tells a story. You know, like you said at the start, Rob, all the drama, they get the 3 points. I would just finish, Rob, in my thoughts on this game by saying, and we're going to go on to talk about a club in a minute that has less drama when it's playing its football and winning games. Yeah. And I'll ask, to put it in the form of a question, can Man United continue to play games of this high-level drama and go in behind? We saw it against Southampton. They got a point. They get away with it here. Is there too much drama for this club to go all the way?
Good point. No, there isn't. You can win a title with drama.
All the way through.
Well, all I'm saying, Rob, is they can get over the line with drama as long as they're coming the right side of drama. And what this team would get better at is if they start to want to, win more titles, is the drama would drop as they get better, as they get more experience. But there's lots of people in this group who haven't been the distance, and at the moment, their challenge is to come out of games with the 3 points. Without drama, playing well, not playing well, blah, blah, blah. They're going to have some good days. We saw one at Leeds. They're going to have some good days with this fella up front and the attacking threats they've got. So they've got to manage the drama, but make sure if there's drama, listen, we got to handle that, but we got to finish out on top.
Yeah,
it's going to be fascinating watch. It's been a great watch, as you say. It's going to be a great watch because they're not going to win too many games controlling them 1-0 and stopping the opposition. No. I don't think they're going to be built for that.
They're going to overpower in an attacking sense so many teams, given what they've got going forward. It's just there has got to be a little bit more, my favorite word, durability in defensively, Rob, sometimes. I mean, it can't be all out attack. They're a little bit, I think I used the word today on air, disheveled at times defensively. But I go back to it. They're going to outpower a lot of teams given their attacking line.
They're going to be great for us to watch, my friend, and plenty of material for our podcast, which is the most important thing.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move to the other big game of today. It was a big London derby, Tottenham, Chelsea, two teams who don't particularly get on well. A bit of history between the two.
Yep.
I thought it was another fascinating game, man. Drama-filled game. I have to say, Spurs started the game with a bit of wow factor. Intense, pushing on. Nuno done his tactics where he looked like he wanted to put Son central against Thiago, get some one-on-ones there. Kane played from the left, came in on inside. Lo Celso went from a midfield position to a wide position. Dele Alli was sort of on the left of midfield with Højbjerg anchoring and Ndombele on the pitch, getting hold of the ball, making it up. For 20 minutes, I thought Spurs were excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, they were, Rob. And I think, Nuno said afterwards that he thought for 50 minutes they were really, really good. He said the pressing worked out great. And what I picked up in the first half, Rob, was that, I think if there's a little bit of a soft spot, a vulnerability in Chelsea's team with the way that they play tactically, it's the two midfield players, the holding players. Kovacic was today and Jorginho. Now, you just listed a lot of players, Rob. At times, a lot of times, they came centrally. And the two Chelsea boys were flooded between Dele, Højbjerg, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Son, Kane, all dropping into the central area, and they gained control of the game. Chelsea, I think in every game apart from the one where they had a man sent off, have dominated possession, more than 50%, less in this game as Tottenham targeted that area and gained control in there.
But don't you remember last week we were doing the game in Aston Villa?
Exactly the same.
Yeah, Ramsey in there as the extra man, didn't he, with Louise and McGinn? And same thing. I remember half-time was saying he's either got to change the system that we said we haven't really seen him do, or change the personnel. He did both.
Yep.
Dropped Ziyech in, got another midfield player in, and this today absolutely same thing, spot on. Kante in you come with the other two, play Havertz underneath the big lad and look different. I thought. And I heard him after, Rob. Really interesting, Thomas Tuchel, because he said his words were, "We were trying to win the game the first half with our skill and our ability, and we didn't come to play." And he's definitely, I think, you're artists and soldiers and doing the work. He said in a big London derby, you have to go and do what's required first, and it's really interesting. The guy he took off is Mason Mount, Rob. I think there's a lesson to be. I think there's going to be some lessons for learning from Mason Mount, who maybe under the Frank regime would still get away with that and could just play when he wants to and not. Under Tuchel, unless you're tactically right and prepared to do the things right, as good as you are, as many games as you're playing for England, as much as a promise, off you pop, and he got on Kante and he controlled the game. Was different. It was won in 12 minutes. In the second half, they could press more. They had another man to play through. I mean, night and day.
Change everything. Tuchel's got a plan, mate. He's got a plan. We saw it last week. Okay, that's happening. That's not great for us. Boom, boom, boom. I think you make a good point, because I picked up the same thing. I'm thinking, well, Tuchel's tactically smart, makes big decisions, is fired up, is passionate. But it's like it's getting like, wow, he's thinking of everything. The aggression, the duels, as he said, you know, he needed more of that in the London derby. So if you've got a tactically astute guy, well organized, thorough, and he appreciates the need for aggression and work rate, this is what he said as well afterwards. The work rate was important. I mean, that he's saying all the right things, Rob. Again, making the big decisions, changing games instantly. Another, you know, impressive outing from the manager and the players. And then N'Golo Kante comes in. I mean, wow, talk about changed everything with what he did in midfield. Absolutely, that was a story again for me, Rob. After a team looked a bit shaky in the first half, to totally dominating, winning 3-0, going away from Spurs. Really, really, really impressive stuff.
Can I give a mention? I wanted to chuck a couple of mentions, and I wanted to just throw a couple of things at you, because you know what happens when I'm off and not working the shows. I'm desperate to get it to you. Thiago Silva, my friend, for 15-20 minutes of the game, it was a real test with Sonny and with that rotation in place, central on the pitch. Let me tell you what a top player does, Rob. He figures it out. He figures it out. He starts to affect the game. He starts to pull people around him. He starts to get in front and win some ball. Those top quality players, why they're winners, why they played at the big clubs, is because they're not just great footballers, Rob. They got a bit of drive. They got a bit of heart. They'll work out. They ain't going to get beaten. He ain't going to get exposed by Son one-on-one. I thought he was outstanding. I mean, he gets the goal and his leadership, but sometimes it's good to have those people around, to watch those people, to see how he's got a problem. If Eric Dyer has a problem, that problem usually continues all game.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Great point. I think our colleagues at Sky gave him the man of the match, Rob, Thiago Silva. Final thing I want to mention, Rob, and this is up your kind of street. This, did you see after the game? I know you love a hugger, and you love a cuddle. You love a big cuddle.
Yeah, a cuddler, yeah.
Thomas Tuchel even brings that to the party. He goes straight to Kepa. Kepa started the game. Mendy had a little injury. Gives Kepa a big hug. Mendy's there as well. Gives him. There's like, I mean, he's even got the man management. I've dropped you, my second choice, but I need you, and he's ready to play. That's another kind of string to his bow that's really important. Man management and players that are not playing and keeping them involved and congratulate him. It's the first player he ran to, Rob, at the end of the game was Kepa. And it's like, that's kind of good to see. I mean, I'm not sure there's any boxes more, you know, he can tick. Thomas Tuchel, just since taking over, it's just absolutely very, very impressive stuff.
Yeah, and you know, when we make the comparisons to Frank, who we both like, who we both talked about, maybe it's some of those little things, those nuances that my management, these, you know, a bit of noise come out that Frank didn't talk to players, or once you're out. He's left the door open and made sure they were. I want to move it on to Spurs, Rob, because I wrote something down about the Spurs, and I said today's result shows the difference in the two teams. When Chelsea were challenged, they kind of embraced the challenge and found a way and solved it. When Spurs were challenged, eventually they crumbled. Right there, to me, is what makes these two teams different.
Granted, but you've got to factor in the time the managers have been at the clubs, Rob, haven't you? You've got to factor in the amount of time.
To a certain degree. And Chelsea got a better level.
Yeah.
I mean, they're putting a better level of player.
Yeah, they have. I'll give the example in a slightly different way. Chelsea had a problem. They fixed it. Spurs started off great. They had a problem in the second half, and they couldn't fix it. It's almost like Nuno hasn't been around long enough to, like, you know, he's done his work on his training ground in the tactical setup, worked really well. It's like, well, I haven't got to the next bit yet. You know, we don't know what we do in that situation. I mean, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt there, Rob, but maybe he hasn't enough time to, like, if that happens.
I'm not disagreeing, because, like you say, he's a new manager. My point would be, as football clubs, over the years, I still think that the same, whether it's been Pochettino, whether it's been Mourinho. Now, I don't know if a different manager can get a different response, or that is who they are right now.
So you're talking about, and I think I mentioned this after the game, Rob, the likes of your Delis, your Lo Celso, maybe Reguilon, your Eric Dyers, They've been through different managers. And they've had this scenario. And it's like,
still get the same. It's kind of ending up in the same place.
Yeah.
I don't, again, and I'm, Nuno first 3-1 and that, and let's give him time. Let's see how he goes. He's working away and they've had some injuries and all that. Yeah. But at some point we might have to go, I don't know, he's a fourth manager now and it still ain't seemingly happening for him. The other one I just wanted to quickly go to, and there was a comparison. I didn't really sort of realise it. I was doing a little bit of reading up before the game. Harry Kane and Romelu Lukaku, 28 years of age. Very similar in what they've done.
Yeah. Yes.
Lukaku started early. I read from like 2010, 2011. Lukaku was a kid in Anderlecht and it came through. Harry Kane that was off it at Leyton Orient and Forest, I think, and was even Leicester, Championship, finding his way. Both kind of got themselves to the top of the game. Right now, Harry Kane's having a struggle, Robbie Mustoe. I don't know if it's all the summer. I don't know if it's the transfer activity that's affected him. I'm not sure if the team aren't playing as fluently. Just not quite. And maybe somebody said, well, if you plugged Harry in Chelsea team, it looked different. And I kind of think you're right. Not sure. He just looks a little bit off. Like, I'm not sure if his head's in the right place.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe the truth is probably a little bit of everything. New manager, different way of playing. I mean, he's got to be, Rob. I mean, of course, he's the ultimate professional. But when you said things in the interview with Gary Neville about, reading between the lines, potentially joining Man City, you feel you've got a gentleman's agreement. We've been through all this stuff. It's got to affect him, Rob, hasn't it? It's got to affect him a little bit in his. I don't know. He'll realise that it's no good looking back. And it's every good to get back to his best of scoring goals. I mean, he must realise that. But we did a comparison beforehand, and right now Lukaku looks the all-round number 9, where Harry Kane's a little bit different. But to be fair, it's again new manager. I think we revisit this, Rob. But this is something that we watch. Nothing conclusive right now.
5 games in, and we know Harry, one day he scores 4 goals and he's flying again, and the rhythm's back there. Listen, mate, we can't move on from this game without mentioning a certain legend who the game lost over the weekend, Jimmy Greaves, the famous English Chelsea Spurs centre forward. I mean, I just looked at his record, Rob. 44 goals in 57 appearances for England, including 6 hat-tricks. 266 goals in 379 games for Spurs. The Spurs' all-time top goal scorer, something that Harry Kane's chasing. Yeah. For Chelsea, 132 goals in 169 games. I mean, basically, play this guy, and more often than not, he's going to score your goals. It was, but more than that, Robbie, he became, after his football career, a broadcaster. And with Ian St. John, who was a former Liverpool player, they created this brilliant TV show that we grew up on. People of our age will all know, called the St. Greavesy, and just brought another dimension to football, brought other people into the game. And I think if we were trying to think of maybe equivalents in American sport, it'd be somebody like Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal, 2 heavyweights, sitting and talking about NBA and people being brought to their show. I just thought it was timely for us maybe to just, tip a hat to one of the greats who English football's lost.
Yeah, and regarded as being the greatest goal scorer England's ever produced, a World Cup winner in '66. And back to St. Greavesy, absolutely right. And what I would add to that, Rob, is that at that time, football coverage was incredibly serious, from the commentators to the highlight shows to the analysis. It was very serious, a little stiff. St. Greavesy laughed their way through shows and did it in a warm, likable, entertaining way that people loved, and it hadn't been done before. That's what's so cool about it, Rob. It just hadn't. And the rapport they had with Saint laughing at his jokes and stuff like that, we'll never forget that show. those two individuals that did it, apart from his incredible football career. So you're right. It's right that we talk about Jimmy Greaves, what he did as a scorer and a broadcaster, and he'll, of course, be sadly missed.
Yeah, rest in peace, Jimmy Greaves. Okay, mate, let's move it on to the reigning champions, who kind of hit a blank, which is very unusual for them. At home, no goals. Plenty of fans turned up, I have to say so. So Pep couldn't moan about that, but plenty goals didn't particularly turn up for his team. It's one of those days, Rob, where I think there was only one shot on target. I think Phil Foden came on as substitute late on, one shot on target for a Manchester City team that we know dominates possession and dominates the opposition. I think it's only the second time in 41 home matches that they failed to score. 6 in midweek in the Champions League, and you're thinking they just need one. But I think the conversation, Rob, and we're going to be part of it because, you know, we've all got our views on which of the 4 teams we think might win it and what's going to hold some back. And there's plenty of people who are going to point to a lack of a real centre forward is what's going to hurt Man City. They didn't get Harry Kane, whether they gambled on him or not. They didn't decide to go for anybody else, maybe turned away from Ronaldo, who we've seen scoring goals. And on a day when a Sergio Aguero might get you out of jail as he has in the past, or a Harry Kane or a Cristiano Ronaldo might get you out of jail in a not great performances, they don't have that player in the team right now, Rob. So I think the Sterling playing as a false 9, Jesus on the left. We've seen Jesus up there. We've seen Ferran Torres up there. But against a well-organised Southampton team who deserve their credit as well, no goals, my friend, no centre forward. Is this going to come to haunt Pep?
Absolutely, Rob. And listen, I remember saying around this time last season that I don't know whether Pep and this team can go again. They had a really poor start, and they went again. Proved me wrong, won the title by a big gap. Superb, well done. I fear the same thing again. Now, could totally prove me wrong again, and I know that you've tipped them for the title, and they could totally go on a run now and be undefeated for ages. But it's different this year, Rob. It's different because other teams are much better. And let me chuck this one in at you as well. Another important reason why they did so well last year, there's 2 important reasons in my opinion. The first, of course, was Ruben Diaz and John Stones' incredible understanding and partnership, which helped defensively. And the other reason, maybe people might disagree with this, is COVID-19 and the congested schedule. And Man City's squad, Rob, the games coming thick and fast every 3 or 4 days. They rotated superbly. Freshened the team up, kept getting the results where other teams didn't have that luxury or their squads weren't as good. City came out on top as one of the reasons. Of course, they're a brilliant team, etc. It's one of the reasons, in my opinion, that they did so well because of the rotation from day one for Pep. It's different this season. Teams are going to have more chance to rest a little bit, and the others are so much more fired up. They're better. They've done great in the market. Liverpool's got players back. I fear that City won't put up a challenge that's expected this season because of I don't know. It's hard to go again, you know. And this league, you can't drop many points and expect to win it this season because there's too many good chasing teams. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good point. I can't disagree with him. I still don't think it'd be lack of not having the fire in the belly. I think he'll do that because I think that's the way he is. He burns himself. He demands of himself. He demands of his group. I think where it's come down to City this year, Rob, where if we're going to see a bit of carelessness like yesterday where they don't see it off, apparently didn't particularly play as well, which is a bit more of a worry. Yes. We know there'll be odd days, but when they don't play as well, when the rhythm's off, that's when, if that goes, then that's a bit of a worry. But I kind of feel like they're still in with the shout. What's going to be the most important to them is on the big games, they're going to have to win them. So if they've got a bit sloppy in a draw against Southampton, and I mean, a loss to Spurs already this season, when those big four go head to head, when they play any of the other three teams in that big
nudge, nudge, wink, wink, next Saturday.
Correct.
Home against away against Chelsea.
Chelsea, you're going to have to win those games. If they're going to win the title, they can't afford to not be winning those games and be a bit sloppy in one of the two of the others. The other teams might be the opposite way, might beat all the lesser teams and might not quite do well enough against the big sides. That could be. But Pep's going to have to make sure when he goes to Chelsea in places. Remember, he played a false nine against Chelsea. I think we were there that day when De Bruyne played and they absolutely beat them 4-0, beat Frank's team 4-0. And it was like, wow, it was like football from another planet. I think he's going to have those days and he's going to have to set his team up in that manner to make sure that they stay relevant with it.
Yeah, and full marks to Southampton. Full marks to Southampton, who went to Man City and were the better team. That's tough to do.
Not many teams do. By the way, I mean, the penalty with Walker on Armstrong. I mean, it's another one this weekend. I'm like, I cannot see how that is not a foul.
Yeah. Just the last one for me, Rob. In terms of the relationship with Pep and the fans, big crowd today at the Etihad. Yeah, that's not gonna brew, is it? That's not gonna kind of fester any kind of relationship that might hinder the manager of the team.
I listened back to the interview, then you start seeing the press. It's a little bit English press jumping on something old, and the fans were there and they were singing his name. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything there. Listen, there's a narrative that City can't fill the ground like one of them because they bought their way into this thing. I mean, come on, we're all. Let's just be honest and let's talk it as we see it. There's no problem with the fans. They've got a great relationship. They've got one of the best managers in the world. They've got a challenge on this year to win the title. And Pep's one of them, Rob, and you're right in saying that teams have got better. That's even more reason why he wants to win it this year. Because he doesn't want any of those other teams to go, oh, okay, we're better than you now. We've got better quality than you.
I mean, if he wins it this season, Rob, wow. Sure. Like
without a centre forward, with everybody being
getting better, that'd be absolute greatness.
Yeah.
If he can do that,
and he loves that. Forget, when he talks about records, he knows every one of them. He likes every one of them, and he'll be flying for this one again this time. Okay, my friend, let's move it to Turf Moor because I thought this was a fascinating game. Burnley at home to Arsenal. So the narrative would say Burnley get Arsenal at Turf Moor. They get Barnes, they get Wood, they get bruising, and they get 3 points. It didn't quite happen that way, my friend.
Listen, I'm going to say it. Last few weeks, Arteta's got bashed, right? Got bashed, battered. Sack him. One more result, get rid of him. Not up to it. Bad signings. Wasn't there... Didn't people have to wait a little bit? We know about the rebuild. We know about how big this job was. We know about some of the injuries and COVID cases. Now, I'm not saying they're a brilliant team right now, and I'm not saying they're going to go on and finish in the top 6 even. But isn't this a? And the manager's talked about light at the end of the tunnel. There's a tunnel light at the end of the tunnel, and this has been the best 10 days of my career, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you see the team playing, right, and particularly at the end, we had to dig in a little bit.
Yeah.
But you look at the team now, and it starts to look a lot better on paper, Robbie Earle. Saka's not at it yet, granted, right? He's 20 years of age. He'll get better, and he's a brilliant young player, Bukayo Saka. Nicola Pepe is improving. Wasn't great. Emile Smith-Rowe, actually, was a little quiet. But Thomas Partey back fit again. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is the number 9. And Martin Odegaard. Now, of course, we have our underappreciated, and mine comes a little later. Odegaard was close for me because I thought in a defensive or not defensive, but a central midfield position, alongside Thomas Partey, I thought he was excellent, Rob, in terms of using the ball and manoeuvring the ball and keeping it moving and not giving the ball away. Defensive side of things, which looks different now. Takiro Tomiyasu, the right fullback, 22 years of age. Ben White, 23 years of age. And Gabriel, 23 years of age. A young, different back four that handled Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes. It's time for Arsenal fans to kind of like forget about the bad times. Let's get on board. And there's still a work in progress. But 2 1-0 victories, 2 games, 2 clean sheets. Good signs for Arsenal.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, Rob. as I watched the game because I was sort of fascinated with what would come and how it would work and in the Arsenal team. And there was a spell in the second half where Burnley went full on Burnley. I mean, it was coming, mate. It was coming. And I got to tell you, Gabriel surprised me. Surprised me. Ben White started the game looking like, when you take your kids to the dentist and you think they're in for a bad time. Ben White looked like he, and I got to tell you, Gabriel babysat him through the early periods of the game, and he grew into a decent game, and the partnership started to look good. They started to challenge the front two, Barnes and Wood. They started to affect the ball into him. They started to nick the ball off them. They started to frustrate. In fact, I think both players might have come off. Certainly Barnes came off. I think Wood might have also got taken off in the end. Partey in front did a decent job, although he still got to get back to his best. I agree with you. I didn't think Saka's not quite there yet. Pepe, Aubameyang, is trying not quite there. Tierney didn't have a particularly great game, but some of the others that you said, Tomiyasu looks a player.
It's a steady Eddie, doesn't he? Steady right back.
Strong, steady. I just thought it was a really big day for this young group of players. There was good signs after seeing them all out on the pitch together, and Gabriel was shouting. It was a bit like, listen, we took a step forward today. People think they can beat us up, like you say. Arsenal are not going to be able to totally out physical people, but if they've got a bit of that when they need to, and then the Odegaards and the Sakas and the Smith Rowes and the Pepes start to play, that's when we'll start seeing a real Arsenal team that can get back to challenging the top 8-6 positions in the league.
They absolutely can do that. If you look at the players that missed the game, right, and the bench, there's kind of a bit of strength now, right? Aubameyang up front, Lacazette on the bench. In the middle of the park, you still got Sambi Lokonga, by the way, who I think has done a really good job, could come in and play there. Granit Xhaka, not one of my favourites, suspended in this game, Rob, can come in there. So you've got 4 players for central berths. Of course, Odegaard can push into a wide position, can push into number 10. Maitland-Niles can come in and do a job in various spots. So it's, there's a bit of flexibility with how he wants to do things. I thought it was quite a brave call to play Odegaard in the middle of the park, but totally justified with his ability to keep possession. So Arteta wants his team to play around all this aggressive nature from Burnley, and for the most part, I did well. But you make a good point, and I thought the same thing in the last 15, 20 minutes. Wow, Burnley turned up the dial, and defensively, Arsenal again. It's just important for them to believe and trust enough confidence now that they can be defensively strong, because I think you're going to see they'll pass the ball, right? They'll pass the ball, but they've got to be able to rely on a defensive foundation that's trustworthy, and that's a good kind of start in that direction.
Is Aaron Ramsdale the number one now? Is it his shirt to hang on to and for Burnt to challenge?
Yes, I think it is. I mean, it's come a lot quicker than I expected, Rob. But again, we don't see all the training sessions. Maybe, but Leno doesn't look great in training. Maybe Aaron Ramsdale's look good, but at 23, isn't he? I think Aaron Ramsdale. Wow, that's an early bit of trust there. Go in there and try and do it. I think there will be games that maybe he makes mistakes. That'll be the key, whether he's trusted to go through them or whether he'll make a change and switch him over for a little bit. Yeah.
Well, there's competition now, which is a great thing, but you do get the sense that Ramsdale might just have got himself that number one spot now. But better days for Arsenal. I thought it was a really, really good win.
Well done, Arsenal.
3 points. Well done, Arsenal. Yep. We'll see how things go on that one. Let's move it forward to Liverpool, my friend. Liverpool 3, Crystal Palace 0. And I quote Jurgen Klopp, it's the hardest working 3-0 win ever, in that they had to grind away to get it done. It wasn't a 3-0, which sometimes a 3-0 win can be pretty comfortable. I don't particularly think Liverpool at anyone's stage felt that this was pretty comfortable.
Well, it's one of the 10 o'clocks, Rob. So it's hard to keep your eye on everything in terms of details of how they did. 3-0 victory against Palace that were great last weekend. Ibrahima Konate, I see, started the game as a central defender, which is good news for them. Another player in that position to cover, played alongside Virgil van Dijk. I was shocked at the miss from Diogo Jota later in the game, where he volleyed over the top from about 2 yards. But Liverpool, listen, the longer this impressive kind of form continues, and Mo Salah looks like Ronaldo, he's going to score in every single game, then that belief, that momentum, the confidence rolls on. And right now, Liverpool look right in the mix of having a real good tilt at the title again, Rob.
I mean, one of your concerns, I know, starting off with the season was a bit like City, like, can they dig again? Can they go deep
with
again?
this group? Yeah.
With this group. I've got to be honest, Rob, we're 5 games in, so we can't make too many drastic conclusions, but looks to me like they're quite hungry for it again.
Yeah.
The appetite looks good about it again. I don't know if it's all the players back fit. I don't know if it's like, listen, we lost it last year and we weren't good. We took our criticism. We got our head down. And now we come again. The manager looks refreshed. I mean, at home, the fans, the whole fan thing is taking them to another level. There looks a drive. We've got Mane, as you say, getting goals, Rob, from the other side is important.
Yes.
I thought Naby Keita getting a goal is so important. Goals from midfield, as well as Salah's. We know he's going to be 20-plus goals because that's just who he is. Konate being nursed through with Van Dijk. He didn't start the game brilliantly. Looked a little bit apprehensive a couple of times in possession, but grew into it. And once or twice, it had good moments when Benteke, I think, he bodied him out of a ball, and Edward, who came in for Palace. So getting Konate through a game, another clean sheet, 4 clean sheets in 5. Just feel like we've underestimated a little bit the desire in this football club. And
also, have we underestimated, Robbie Earle, the squad?
Yeah.
The cover.
Yeah.
Naby Keita scores a goal. 2 fullbacks, great fullbacks. Liverpool didn't start the game. Still did okay. We know that Roberto Firmino's to come back in the team as a centre forward. We know that some of the younger players, Curtis Jones, and so sad for Harvey Elliott, who's going to be out for a while now. But maybe they have got a decent squad. And maybe if they do get 1 or 2 injuries, they got some players that can come in. And I know Crystal Palace, people might say, well, hang on a minute, it's only Crystal Palace. But they've looked bright. They've
played all right. They played quite well.
So it continues to look really bright, and it continues right now that the players are hungry and the front players are scoring goals. And defensively, they got everybody fit. It looks good. Well, not everyone. I mean, Trent missed the game, but you know what I mean.
Elliott's out now.
As well. So generally, they look good. Another great result, and it's great for us, mate, because the more of the big clubs that we thought were going to be in it are looking really good, and most of them are. Maybe not Man City so much, just on this weekend, but no, Liverpool. They can go again, and they look very good.
I think that strength and depth, certainly in defence as well. Whole back four was different from the AC Milan back four, and they kept a clean sheet and get Konate through a big 90 minutes. I've got to tell you, mate, I'm going to give my underappreciated player of the week to a slightly elderly gentleman who gets overlooked. And when we talk about depth of squad, we probably don't sort of think of him in any one position, which is part of his quality. Mr. James Milner is my underappreciated performer of the weekend, who came in, probably didn't know. I believe Trent Alexander-Arnold had eaten something and late on was taken out at the starting 11. James Milner goes in at right back. He can go in at right back, he can go in left back, and play all the 3 central midfield playing. He'd probably play up front if you chucked him there or in goal.
Yep.
James Milner comes in at right back against Will Zaha, who we saw Emerson Royal, who's a young, athletic Brazilian footballer, have all kinds of problems with Zaha. Milner,
was he?
Done and dusted. Done and dusted. And the stats on James Milner are ridiculous. He covered 10.93 kilometres during the game, the most of any player on the pitch. He had 113 touches of the ball, the most of anybody on the pitch. His pass completion was 59 passes, the most of anybody on the pitch. I mean, his numbers are ridiculous. His worth to the club continues to grow. His drive and the Thiago element of his experience, his hunger, what he gives off in that dressing room, what young players can learn from him is outstanding. And he doesn't get appreciated because when we talk about Liverpool, we never mention his name anymore.
Bloody hell, Robbie. That's so much love. I don't. You've ever given as much love to any one player ever in the history of the underappreciated. you absolutely love James Milner, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I agree.
It shows that age isn't a barrier. Age isn't a barrier. How many players do we see coming to 30, 31 years of age, and they don't, they've not looked after themselves, or they've not got the drive. They haven't moved on. This guy, I mean, think of Daniel Sturridge, Robbie Mustoe, and all that he has in terms of natural ability and finishing and that. And he's out of the game at the moment. I don't know if he's got a club yet, but he can't get a gig. And you've got James Milner, who was a 16-year-old kid at Leeds, who's still putting in top-class performances for a team who are just striving to win another title. Just fantastic. So my underappreciated form of the week, Mr. James.
Wow, a lot of love there. Okay, let's move on to another game. Wow, maybe one of these teams didn't get a lot of love from the officials. Brighton and Hove Albion 2, Leicester City 1. So many debatable incidents. What did you think to the Neil Maupay pull on the arm of Vestergaard? This is how I saw it. Vestergaard gets pulled down. He's desperately trying to jump. His arm comes up as he's jumping, and the ball strikes his hand above his shoulder. Automatic penalty. It was a foul, wasn't it?
It looks a foul. It looks a foul to me, and because he's being pulled, it almost the reaction to that pull is that your other arm comes up to kind of balance you off, I thought it was a foul. I think if you look at it through VAR and you're looking at the hand, you got to look at the reason why the hand, and it just felt that I'm being fouled. That's why my hand's there. So I thought they were unlucky with that. They get the penalty, they stick it away, they go on up. Danny Welbeck gets his second, and then Leicester get back into the game. No surprise, Jamie Vardy, and then I think we were talking about where the no love came for Leicester. Harvey Barnes. Twice gets ruled offside. I thought the first one felt like he was more than offside position. He was affecting the goalkeeper, Sanchez's ability to get to ball. I wasn't so sure with the second one, Rob.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently if he's in his line of sight and he affects the goalkeeper's ability to play the ball, then that is
the only thing I thought there, Rob, and I apologize if I get these mixed up here, but the one where Harvey
Barnes.
Sorry, Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
He grappled with the goalkeeper, right, when the ball's on its way, and then he moves away from the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But in grappling, did he interfere with the goalkeeper's position of where he might like to have been set? Just as a ball's headed.
His ability, is that line. I mean,
very subjective.
Felt a bit harsh, but in the race for the outside the big boys' best manager, Graham Potter's doing a pretty good job, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, what, top four, no? Did I look at that?
Fourth in the table.
When they put chances away, or when they score from set pieces, they look the real deal. Of course, last year and the season before that, great possession, not enough goals. So that's different. Can they keep it going? No, I don't think they will, Rob. I still think there's still the same players are there.
But not keeping it going is one thing, because I don't think they'll stay obviously up there. But 6, 7, is that possible? 6, 7, 8.
I chucked in on the show today. I said maybe top 8. I think maybe 8th, Rob. But again, that is kind of depending on somebody getting a regular amount of goals. And I just Welbeck could potentially do it. Maupay, Trossard, maybe between them. But it's great to see Brighton have them there. Quick line on Leicester City, Rob, before we move on. I feel like it's a bit sparkle. It's a bit sparkle gone from Rodgers' Leicester. The project is a sparkle kind of disappeared.
They've had injuries. They've had some injury problems. Fofana was out. I think Evans played midweek or so in the Europa, and then I don't think he was available. So Yunchu hasn't looked as sharp. He's made a few bad errors, I think, for both Turkey and for his team. So, I mean, it's difficult. That's the most difficult thing. But there's plenty of players with plenty to prove. There's plenty of players still good quality. And then we're 5 games in. It might just need a little bit of a settling down period. I still think they'll be up there, top 6, top 8, challenging the big boys as they go. Aston Villa v Everton, my friend. 2 teams who probably would start the season with similar ambitions, I would say. Everton obviously got off to a great start with our friend Rafa. Aston Villa, we found a little bit more difficult, been a bit patchy, not quite had the consistency. We saw them get beat last week by Chelsea, but what a change in game! What a change of second half. I think I was watching you guys on studio, and I finished the game thinking that's what Dean Smith wants his Villa to look like.
Yeah,
the second half performance.
Yeah, I mean Villa Park. I mean, like
the whole 10.
It's a proper club, isn't it, Rob? You know, when things are going well, that's a proper atmosphere. The whole end was bouncing. Second half, such a diff. I thought Everton looked really pretty good actually in the first half. It was kind of even, but I gave the advantage to Everton in the first half. A little bit more control, similar amount of chances, and then second half was just very different. And for me, the story was Leon Bailey coming into the game. I mean, I couldn't believe the reception he got when he first walked onto the field. Like, wow, fans really like him, and he has shown a few. Like, wow, this guy's fast when he's come into games. He come into the match, he zings one in for the corner for, I think it was the second goal.
Digne own goal, yeah.
Digne's own goal. Matty Cash with a great run and great goal and great celebration, by the way, Matty Cash, like sprinting away after he scored his goal. And then...
is he trying to look like Jack Grealish, by the way? Is he trying to fill the Jack Grealish?
That's what Rebecca reckons. The hair.
Yeah, like the haircut,
the
short, the shorts.
Whatever. I mean, he looks good. In terms of his playing, I don't say he looks good in general, but he's really good going forward. He's got a really good goal, great celebration. But Leon Bailey looked the part. Scores a half volley after that. Unfortunately, worryingly, goes off with a little injury.
Pulls a bit of a thigh. Yeah, I don't know if it was during the shot. Don't be surprised by Leon Bailey's skill, quality, personality. Good interview after the game. He's Jamaican, my friend. He flows within us.
Everybody's super talented and super smart, are they?
The reggae boys. He's a reggae boy, my friend.
Yeah, but what a start!
Great,
looks like a
great to see him. Yeah, and he's going to be a star player. I think the Villa fans are going to love him.
Yes,
he's a bit more direct than Jack. Maybe a little bit speedier with the way he plays. But no, he's going to give some good balance to Aston Villa. I think Dean Smith and his team, and it's interesting, you know, with Ings and Watkins as well. Could be exciting watching Villa, Rob, if they can. You know, get enough possession to stop making defensive errors. They've got going forward. There's a decent looking front line there.
Absolutely right. I want to move on to another game now, Robbie Earle, where I was so impressed. I was shocked. Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Brentford Football Club 2. Goals from the front two at the moment on fire strikers in the division as a pair. Ivan Toney and Brian Mbeumo. And without further ado, I'm going to go straight to my straight to my underappreciated performer of the weekend. It's a new one. It's 22 years old, Brian Mbeumo, and his general performance and his well taken goal, another shot that hit the crossbar, and his general ability shocked me actually. Now, we all know about Ivan Toney, Robbie, and I think he scored 31 goals last year in the Championship. I think Mbeumo only got 8 last year, but he's 22. So he would have been younger last season. And I'm sort of thinking this is a Premier League player for the future that could have a big career, Rob. Again, it's maybe a little bold just yet, but that left foot, his pace, his ability with the ball. He looks a silky player. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't often get silky forwards that can do a little bit of everything in terms of being a striker. I think he could be underappreciated and maybe surprise a lot of teams, Rob. So he's my underappreciated form of the weekend.
Good shout. Yeah, because Tony's the one who gets the headlines, and you know he's the one that people have talked about. If you know Brentford didn't come up, somebody would probably go in for Toney. Started his career at Newcastle, but Mbeumo's certainly a new face for many of our Premier League watchers and listeners. And as you say, I've been impressed. He was excellent against Arsenal first day of the season. He caught my eye.
Yeah, and away from him and that front two, I was just impressed with the team, Rob. With the team. Yeah. He's one of them. Thomas Frank's he's such a good talker, and he gives you so much in an interview. He basically said what the threat was from Wolves and how they might address it, and they might press high at times, and other times they'll be forced to defend deep, and they might have to give some space to Traore and Trincao. He did exactly what he said, and the football The defensive part, the high press, the energy. I was shocked at how good they were. And it looked like, to me, a really established Premier League team that did most things really, really well. And again, this might be the whole Sheffield United first season. Love it, look great, and they, at some point they could drop off. But I thought, in terms of a performance of the weekend, and we've seen some pretty amazing games after that, I still think that Brentford's win at Wolves was the most impressive, maybe surprising might be a better description, performance of the weekend. But brilliant.
Yeah, they're a good watch. They're in a very different way to Leeds. They almost like become a must-watch club, because when you see how they're doing it and what they're doing in the control, obviously there's a manager, the whole setup's very different with the stats and the data involved, but it's great. It's funny because as I was watching Bomo and Tony, I was watching the game as well, and I just like how they play. I like what they bring. I was thinking, it's kind of it's almost a more skillful Dini and Nagalo. Do you remember when they came up for Watford and they were a pair? And you don't often see a striking pair. Yeah. It almost felt like they're a little bit more mobile, probably a little bit cuter than those two. Those two had a little bit more physicality maybe about them. But remember when they come up and surprised the Premier League with going as a two? These two look like they've got that kind of thing going, a nice partnership.
It's funny you say that, because Rebecca, we talked about it off camera. I think she might mention it on camera as well, where she said there's something about these two that's a kind of a throwback. It's like kind of. I mean, did she use the word romantic? But it's like, a front two that really look good together. They combined it. I mean, there's other teams, Wood and Barnes, straight off the bat. Maybe Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Strikers that play as a pair. These two, I don't know. It's like, remember Dwight York and Andy Cole.
Andy Cole,
And some part, even going further back for some of our older listeners, like Rush and Dalglish, and I don't know. It's like a throwback of a combining two that enjoy playing with each other, great understanding, happy to set each other up. They're a watch. They're a real must watch going forward this season, Rob, to see how they continue, if they can continue to do it.
Yeah, who haven't been quite so good. Quick word is Wolves, Rob. Bruno Lage got the first win last week, an own goal and a late scramble goal was enough to get them the points. But they've had a struggle. Look like to me, most of their good work again comes through Traore, whether it's through shooting, through crossing. Just wanted to point to something, Rob, that I saw during the game, and it was where Traore ran down the wing, put a lovely ball in, and in that old, talk about partnerships, Traore and Jimenez that we saw in the first two seasons of Wolves under Nuno. Jimenez has a great chance to score a header on the far post and heads it past the post. And in his frustration, Rob, I saw, and a couple of the media outlets picked it up, that he took off the headgear that he was wearing,
chucked it
threw
down
it to the floor, as if like, this thing's hampering me, or I'm not getting the right contact on the ball, or whatever. Now, obviously, we know he's had this horrific head injury and the fracture of the skull, and he's wearing it for protection. And you worry that hopefully that everything's healed and there's no mental barriers or whatever. But he just seems to be having a tough time with himself, Rob, in terms of, we've seen a couple of chances now coming for him, haven't quite gone in. He's obviously frustrated. He hasn't opened his scoring account since coming back. Anything to worry about there for him and his action, or is that just the sign of a striker who's not scoring goals?
I think there's a bit of that. I guess the question is whether the injury is affecting him, Rob, and how he plays the game, how he challenges for the ball. And of course, we'll never know the real reasons for that. I mean, I mentioned it on air, Rob, that I had a fractured, depressed cheekbone and a cracked eye socket in a challenge coming together. And of course, when you first come back, you're conscious of it. But in my case, I had a metal plate put in just above this eyebrow here, just to hold this part together here. You just forget about it. I forgot about it after a few weeks. And I don't know whether if he keeps playing and he keeps, doing his thing, he kind of forgets about that. Now, even if that is an issue, it's tough to say until he starts scoring goals. Maybe like people like us and others will say, well, is he doing the same thing? Is he making the same runs? Is he throwing his head in there when, he did before and he's not doing that? It's just a tough kind of critique to make.
Yeah.
But I think it's valid.
Yeah, I just thought it was just the reaction to dragging it off when he'd missed the chance. He didn't know he dragged it off before. It was almost like the chance went. Normally, I would score that. Oh, this thing has given me a problem.
And, maybe.
You know, we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, we wish him well, get him back scoring because he's a real addition to the Premier League. A couple of other results, mate, just before we wrap things up, because we've run on a little bit late. Newcastle 1, Leeds 1. Leeds getting ahead. Newcastle relying again on St. Maximin. There was, I would say, a little bit of unrest around Steve Bruce, but as ever, the fans backed the team and the team had a go. When this guy gets on the ball, by the way, anything can happen. I mean, he's some player, by the way. He's some player.
He's a really good player, Robin. Played up front on his own pretty much without Callum Wilson. It's one of them where Steve Bruce needed to get a performance, mate, because the fans are waiting to get on his back a little bit. And decent result. 1-1 at St. James's Park. And as you said, St. Maximin was the star of the show. Took his goal really, really well. Had other opportunities, some great shots with his left foot. Deserved the point. And I guess, Steve Bruce's, the pressure will ease a touch as we go forward.
Yeah, and finally, Norwich 1, Watford 3. Good win for Watford, Muno Cisco.
No. Again, couldn't keep my eye on this one. One of those games that are going on at the same time. I think it's important for Watford. I think we all know that Norwich City are going to struggle. Bottom of the league.
15 straight losses, isn't it? 15 straight defeats now in the Premier League, yeah.
And you just started to fear for Watford a little bit as well. But I guess they got the job done, mate. 3-1 victory. Norwich City, bottom of the league table. Not really different to last time, which is a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Given the continuity that's allowed there with Daniel Farke.
Do you think it's one of those, Rob? And we know he's been in a long-term contract. We know about the club's philosophy. Does there become a point where it's like, do we have to try something else to stay in here? Or do we, is it just like the acceptance of what's going to happen? Because if this continues 4, 5, 6 more weeks, we're almost going to have one place gone already.
Yeah. And the answer to that, in my opinion, is yes. Of course, super careful who you bring in, because it's kind of a little different Norwich City. And I get their philosophy of trying to make sure you're up. If you're in the Championship, you're going to be there trying to get back up again. But got to go somebody different that might make a better fist of staying in the division with the same philosophy, the same kind of football, but a different coach might do something a little bit differently, Rob, or bring in some different players that might make a difference and give them a better fist of staying up. I mean, is it really worth it every time? If those fans this happens again and the cycle continues, are the fans like, oh, we go again, we're back in the Premier League, which is great, but we're probably, ain't going to. I think, of course, it's early yet, and nobody should lose their job this early. Yeah. But I think if it continues, then careful who you pick, but try somebody else that gets them promoted, and then a better chance of staying in the Premier League.
Yeah. Daniel Farke needs to try and turn things around, get a few results. Good result for Watford. 3 points that gets them near the middle of the table. Oh, mate, that's another action-packed, drama-filled Premier League weekend. I don't know if it can keep going at this level. We're going to be back on Wednesday, September the 22nd. Now, Mr. Mustoe is going to get himself a day off. And I'm going to be joined by the legend that is Andros Cantor, discussing a wide range of football topics. Might even see if I can get him to do a rendition of the goal.
Oh, no.
That will last for about another 5 minutes. And then you'll be back at the weekend, mate, as normal. So we'll look back on Manchester City, Chelsea, and the North London derby. That looks a bit spicy now with Arsenal getting a win and Tottenham not in great form. So look forward to seeing you next Sunday. But for now, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe, together with the 2 Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe. Be healthy. It's a good night from me.
It's good night from him. Good night.
Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.